A haunting cry pierced through the darkness of Montana's Evergreen mountain range, stopping 3 rangers dead in their tracks. As their flashlight beams cut through the thick forest mist, they witnessed something that defied everything they knew about wildlife behavior. A small bear cub, barely visible in the shadows, deliberately trying to get their attention. But what happened next would shake the very foundation of their understanding about these remarkable creatures. Chief Ranger Mark Thompson had spent 12 years protecting the wilderness of Pine Ridge Station, but nothing in his extensive experience could have prepared him for what unfolded on that freezing October night. The station's sophisticated wildlife monitoring system had detected unusual movement patterns in Sector 7, deep within the protected sanctuary zone. What started as a routine night patrol would soon turn into one of the most extraordinary rescue operations in ranger history. Pine Ridge Station 47 wasn't just any ranger outpost. Nestled in the heart of Montana's most pristine wilderness, it served as the primary guardian for thousands of acres of protected land. With state-of-the-art tracking equipment and a dedicated team of 8 rangers, they prided themselves on maintaining the delicate balance between human presence and wildlife preservation. Yet on this particular night, all their years of training and experience would be tested in ways they never imagined. Dr. Emma Carter, the station's wildlife specialist, was the first to notice something odd about the cub's behavior. The young bear wasn't running away from their presence. Instead, it kept making deliberate movements toward them, then retreating a few steps, all while letting out distressed vocalizations that seemed almost human. In 15 years of studying bear behavior, she whispered, I've never seen anything like this. The team's thermal imaging cameras revealed more puzzling details. The cub's body temperature showed signs of extreme exertion, suggesting it had been moving non-stop for hours. Its tracks, visible in the fresh frost, formed a peculiar pattern, not the random wandering typical of lost cubs, but a deliberate path that it had traveled multiple times between their station and some unknown destination deep in the forest. As the hours crept by, the cub's behavior became increasingly urgent. Each cry seemed more desperate than the last, its small body trembling not just from the cold, but from what appeared to be sheer anxiety. The creature would take a few steps into the darkness, turn back to ensure the rangers were watching, then repeat the process. Senior Ranger James Martinez voiced what they were all thinking. It's trying to lead us somewhere. The decision facing Chief Thompson wasn't an easy one. Protocol strictly prohibited following wildlife into unknown territory during nighttime hours, especially with a storm system approaching. Yet something about this situation felt different. The cub's deliberate actions, its unusual focus, and most importantly, the complete absence of its mother, all pointed to something serious enough to break every rule in the Ranger Handbook. After a brief but intense discussion with his team, Thompson made his choice. He assembled a small rescue unit, himself, Dr. Carter for her wildlife expertise, Ranger Sarah Chen for her medical training, and Rob Wilson, their most experienced rescue specialist. They equipped themselves with emergency medical supplies, rescue gear, and enough provisions for an extended operation. The remaining rangers would maintain station operations and provide emergency backup if needed. The moment they signaled their readiness to follow, the cub's demeanor changed dramatically. Its cries became softer, more controlled, and it moved with renewed purpose through the forest. The team had to maintain a careful balance, close enough to keep the cub in sight, but far enough to not cause it additional stress. Their powerful flashlights revealed a path that seemed deliberately chosen, avoiding the most treacherous terrain, despite the darkness. After nearly an hour of careful tracking through the dense forest, they entered a clearing that made them freeze in their tracks. The beam of their lights revealed a sight none of them would ever forget. There, trapped in a narrow crevice formed by a recent landslide, was the cub's mother, a full-grown black bear pinned beneath several fallen logs. But what made their hearts stop was the small pool of water slowly rising around her, fed by an underground spring exposed by the landslide. The situation was far more critical than they could have imagined. The mother bear had been trapped for what appeared to be several days, the evidence of her cub's repeated attempts to help her visible. In the torn-up ground around the site, the rising water from the spring threatened to submerge her completely within hours. The young cub, displaying remarkable intelligence, had somehow understood that its mother's survival required human intervention. The first attempt at rescue proved nearly impossible. The fallen logs, slick with ice and water, were too heavy for their equipment to move safely. Each time they managed to shift one log, others would settle more firmly into place. The mother bear, though weakened, remained surprisingly calm, as if understanding that these humans were her last hope. Her cub stayed nearby, watching intently, its earlier cries replaced by soft whimpers of concern. Just when they thought they had made progress, disaster struck. A section of the landslide shifted, sending more debris tumbling down and threatening to completely submerge the trapped bear. The water level was rising faster now, and the temperature was dropping dangerously low. They had minutes, not hours, to find a solution. Rob Wilson, their rescue specialist, quickly formulated a risky but necessary plan. They would need to use their rescue winch in a way it was never designed for. In the most intense moments of the rescue, every team member pushed beyond their limits. Thompson and Wilson worked to secure the winch, while Chen and Carter carefully positioned emergency flotation gear around the mother bear. The cub, displaying extraordinary trust, remained quietly beside Dr. Carter, occasionally touching its nose to her hand, as if offering encouragement. The next 30 minutes became a desperate race against time, water, and physics as they attempted something never before tried in ranger rescue history. What happened next would change wildlife rescue protocols forever. The mother bear, despite her ordeal, worked with them instinctively, moving exactly as they needed her to when they finally managed to create enough space for her escape. The moment she was freed, she did something remarkable. Instead of rushing away, she gently checked on her cub, then turned to each ranger in turn, making direct eye contact in what seemed like a gesture of gratitude before finally leading her baby into the forest. The event left a lasting impact on Pine Ridge Station and wildlife rescue operations throughout Montana. New protocols were established for unusual wildlife behavior, emphasizing observation before action. The story of the intelligent cub that sought human help spread throughout the ranger community, reminding them that sometimes the most extraordinary events require throwing away the rulebook and trusting instinct. Years later, rangers would occasionally spot a black bear with distinct markings matching the rescued mother, always accompanied by her now-grown cub. Unlike other bears in the region, this pair never showed aggression toward humans. Instead, they would often pause at a safe distance, making eye contact with the rangers before continuing on their way. A reminder of the night when trust between species bridged an impossible gap. What would you have done in Chief Thompson's position? Would you have trusted your instincts and followed a bear cub into the dark unknown? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible true stories of remarkable wildlife encounters. Remember, sometimes the most extraordinary moments come from taking risks to help those in need, even when they're not human. The morning light painted long shadows across Pine Ridge Station as Chief Ranger Mark Thompson reviewed the surveillance footage from the previous night's extraordinary rescue. Something about the young cub's behavior continued to puzzle him. Its actions had shown a level of intelligence that challenged everything known about wildlife behavior. But the events that would unfold over the next 72 hours would make the previous night's rescue seem like a mere prelude to an even more remarkable discovery. Dr. Emma Carter's preliminary report landed on Thompson's desk at dawn, filled with observations that defied conventional wildlife behavior patterns. The cub hadn't just randomly stumbled upon their station. Thermal imaging footage revealed it had spent several days studying the Rangers' movements, learning their patrol patterns, and seemingly calculating the best moment to make contact. Even more intriguing were the tracks they'd documented. The tiny bear had created a complex network of paths between various locations in the forest, suggesting it wasn't just trying to save its mother, but was monitoring multiple situations simultaneously. Sarah Chen, examining the medical data from their equipment, noticed something else peculiar. The mother bear's vital signs during the rescue had shown unusual patterns. Her heart rate and respiratory responses didn't match typical stress reactions seen in wild animals during human contact. Instead, her readings suggested a state of unusual calm, almost as if she had somehow understood the purpose of each piece of equipment they'd used during her rescue. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The reality of what they were observing began to take shape when Rob Wilson, scaling the ridge above the rescue site, made an unexpected discovery. Hidden among the rocks were small caches of berries and fish, carefully stored food that showed signs of deliberate preservation. The cub had been systematically gathering provisions, not just for itself, but apparently sharing them with other animals in the area. This wasn't just about survival. It hinted at something far more complex. As the team delved deeper into their investigation, the forest itself seemed to be revealing its secrets. Trail cameras captured footage of the same cub leading other animals away from dangerous areas, warning deer about unstable ground, steering younger bears away from human campgrounds, and even appearing to show newly arrived animals safe drinking spots during the drought. Each piece of evidence pointed toward an unprecedented level of interspecies cooperation. The breakthrough came when they analyzed vocalizations from their audio monitoring systems. The cub's cries weren't random distress calls. They followed distinct patterns that changed based on which species it was interacting with. Dr. Carter, cross-referencing the data with her decades of research, realized they were witnessing the emergence of what appeared to be a rudimentary form of cross-species communication. Local indigenous elders, invited to share their traditional knowledge, provided crucial context. Their ancestors had spoken of guardian animals, creatures that served as bridges between the human and natural worlds. What modern science had dismissed as folklore suddenly carried new weight as the team's evidence mounted. The elders' stories told of bears that could understand human intentions and act as intermediaries during times of crisis. The implications of their discoveries spread through the scientific community like wildfire. Researchers from major universities began arriving at Pine Ridge Station, each bringing new perspectives and technologies to document this extraordinary phenomenon. The young cub's actions were challenging fundamental assumptions about animal intelligence, emotional capacity, and the potential for interspecies cooperation. Meanwhile, the forest continued to yield its mysteries. Motion-triggered cameras revealed nighttime gatherings where multiple species, bears, wolves, elk, and others, seemed to congregate in specific clearings. The cub and its mother were often at the center of these gatherings, their behavior suggesting some form of information exchange. The recording showed repeated instances of animals appearing to take turns sharing access to resources, displaying a level of social organization previously thought impossible in mixed species groups. Thompson's team documented cases where the cub's warning system had prevented disasters, A series of small earthquakes had triggered landslides in the region, but areas where the cub had been active showed significantly lower wildlife casualties. Animals in these sectors had moved to safer ground hours before the tremors began, suggesting some form of advanced warning system that humans were only beginning to understand. The mother bear's recovery proved equally fascinating. Instead of retreating deep into the wilderness after her rescue, she established a territory closer to the ranger station, creating what appeared to be a buffer zone where human and animal activities could safely overlap. Her behavior suggested a deliberate attempt to demonstrate peaceful coexistence, challenging long-held beliefs about the necessity of strict separation between wild animals and human settlements. As winter approached, the team observed something even more remarkable. The cub began leading younger animals through what could only be described as survival training sessions. It demonstrated techniques for finding food under snow, identifying safe ice crossing points, and locating warm denning spots. This knowledge sharing wasn't limited to other bears. Deer, elk, and even smaller mammals were observed following and mimicking the cub's behavior. Dr. Carter's ongoing research revealed patterns suggesting the development of a sophisticated communication network throughout the forest. The cub and its mother had essentially created a living safety system, with different species playing distinct roles in maintaining the welfare of the entire ecosystem. Wolves would patrol boundaries, elk would test ice thickness before group crossings, and bears would clear fallen trees from essential game trails. The story took an unexpected turn when a severe early winter storm threatened the region. Traditional wildlife management models predicted significant losses among the animal populations, but something extraordinary happened instead. Under the guidance of the mother bear and her remarkable cub, the forest's inhabitants began implementing what appeared to be pre-planned survival strategies. Different species congregated in specific areas, sharing body heat and resources in ways that defied traditional competitive behaviors. Thompson's team watched in amazement as the cub coordinated what could only be described as evacuation routes, leading groups of animals to higher ground before valleys flooded, or to sheltered areas before the worst of the storms hit. The level of cooperation between species suggested a complete paradigm shift in understanding wildlife behavior. These weren't just random survival instincts. They were witnessing organized, collaborative responses to environmental challenges. As news of these discoveries spread, Pine Ridge Station became the center of a revolutionary approach to wildlife management. Traditional barriers between conservation areas and human settlements were reassessed, replaced by dynamic buffer zones that allowed for more natural interaction patterns. The cub's demonstrated intelligence became a catalyst for changing how humans viewed their relationship with the natural world. The mother bear's recovery had another unexpected effect on the forest's dynamics. Other injured animals began approaching the ranger station for help, each guided by the cub in its own unique way. The team documented cases of wounded wolves, injured elk, and even sick foxes being led to areas where rangers could safely assist them. Each successful intervention strengthened the remarkable bridge of trust that was forming between humans and wildlife. Senior Ranger James Martinez established new protocols based on their observations, emphasizing patience and observation over immediate intervention. The team learned to recognize different types of animal communications, understanding when they were being asked for help versus when animals were warning them about natural dangers. This two-way communication revolution transformed their entire approach to wildlife management. Research teams studying the phenomenon discovered that the cub's influence extended far beyond immediate survival situations. Young animals from various species were observed mimicking its problem-solving behaviors, learning to use tools in simple ways and developing more sophisticated responses to environmental challenges. The forest was becoming a living laboratory of animal intelligence and adaptation. The indigenous elders, who had shared their traditional knowledge, began working more closely with the ranger station, helping to interpret animal behavior patterns that aligned with their ancestral understanding of forest dynamics. This collaboration led to the development of new conservation strategies that incorporated both scientific observation and generational wisdom about animal intelligence. As winter deepened, the team observed the full scope of what they had discovered. The cub's influence had created a more resilient ecosystem where different species worked together to overcome environmental challenges. This cooperation extended to their interactions with humans, resulting in fewer conflicts and more successful conservation outcomes. Researchers noted significant changes in the behavior of animals throughout the region. Species that typically competed for resources began showing signs of cooperative behavior, sharing information about food sources and dangers in ways that benefited entire populations. The cub's legacy was literally reshaping the social structure of the forest. The implications for wildlife conservation were enormous. Traditional models based on managing conflict between species were being replaced by approaches that recognized and supported natural cooperation. The cub's demonstrated ability to facilitate cross-species communication became a foundation for new wildlife protection strategies across North America. Each day brought new insights into the complexity of animal intelligence and social behavior. The team documented instances of strategic planning, emotional intelligence, and problem-solving that challenged every conventional notion about wildlife capabilities. The forest had become a living classroom, teaching humans about the untapped potential of the natural world. The story of the crying bear cub transformed Pine Ridge Station into a model for a new kind of conservation, one where humans worked in partnership with wildlife to protect and preserve natural ecosystems. The lessons learned from this remarkable young bear and its mother continued to reshape our understanding of the delicate balance between human presence and wildlife preservation in protected lands. Watch for the next part of this extraordinary story, where we'll explore how the discovery at Pine Ridge Station began influencing wildlife management practices around the world, and the remarkable developments that followed as researchers delved deeper into understanding animal intelligence and cross-species cooperation in the wild. Dawn broke over Evergreen mountain range, casting golden light across freshly fallen snow as Chief Ranger Mark Thompson stood at his observation post, documenting an unprecedented gathering in the valley below. Through his high-powered binoculars, he watched as the young bear cub, now noticeably larger than when they first encountered it, orchestrated what could only be described as a wilderness summit. The scene unfolding before him would soon catch the attention of wildlife experts worldwide. The morning air crackled with frost as Dr. Emma Carter adjusted her specialized recording equipment, carefully capturing every vocalization and movement from the remarkable congregation below. Wolves sat peacefully beside deer, mountain lions rested near elk, and various smaller forest creatures gathered in concentric circles around the central clearing. At the heart of this impossible assembly stood the cub and its mother, moving between different species with practiced ease. Senior Ranger James Martinez radioed in from his position on the eastern ridge, reporting similar gatherings forming in other valleys across their jurisdiction. The phenomenon was spreading, showing signs of a fundamental shift in wildlife behavior patterns that stretched far beyond their initial observations. The forest was transforming into something never before seen in modern wildlife studies. Its revelation came through Dr. Carter's advanced vocalization analysis. The cub had developed a sophisticated system of communication that transcended species barriers. Its calls contained layered frequencies, each component seemingly tailored to different animals' hearing ranges. This discovery sent shockwaves through the scientific community. They were witnessing the emergence of what appeared to be a universal animal language. Sarah Chen's medical monitoring stations picked up extraordinary data from the assembled animals. Their stress levels remained remarkably low despite the close proximity of natural predators and prey. Brainwave patterns suggested a state of heightened awareness rather than anxiety, indicating a fundamental change in how these creatures perceived and responded to each other's presence. As winter's grip tightened on the mountain range, the cub's influence manifested in increasingly sophisticated ways. Rob Wilson's drone footage captured evidence of coordinated hunting practices where predator species took turns rather than competing for resources. More remarkably, they appeared to be sharing their catches with younger or injured animals from various species, displaying unprecedented levels of cross-species altruism. The indigenous elders who had been consulting with the ranger station shared ancient stories that parallel current events with uncanny accuracy. Their legends spoke of times when animals lived in greater harmony, guided by special creatures blessed with the ability to bridge the gaps between species. What was once dismissed as mythology was playing out before their eyes in real time. Deep in the heart of winter, the team witnessed something extraordinary. The cub began organizing what appeared to be teaching sessions, gathering young animals from different species and demonstrating advanced survival techniques. It showed them how to find food beneath deep snow, test ice thickness safely, and create shelters that could protect multiple species during severe weather. Thermal imaging revealed complex social networks forming throughout the forest. Animals were creating shared denning areas, with different species taking turns standing guard while others rested. The cub had essentially orchestrated a cooperative survival strategy that defied every known principle of competitive natural selection. The breakthrough in understanding came when Dr. Carter isolated specific patterns in the cub's vocalizations. Each call contained multiple layers of information, warning signals, teaching cues, and what appeared to be emotional content. The team realized they weren't just observing advanced communication, but the development of a sophisticated cultural transmission system among wildlife. As news of these discoveries spread, Pine Ridge Station became the focal point of a revolutionary approach to wildlife research. Traditional theories about animal intelligence and social organization were being rewritten as experts from around the world gathered to document this unprecedented phenomenon. The forest had become a living laboratory of animal cognition and cooperation. The mother bear's role in these developments proved equally fascinating. She had evolved into something of a diplomatic figure, mediating potential conflicts between species and establishing new social norms that promoted peaceful coexistence. Her presence alone seemed to calm aggressive behaviors and encourage cooperative interactions among traditionally antagonistic species. Winter storms brought new challenges and more remarkable discoveries. The team observed coordinated rescue operations where multiple species worked together to help animals trapped by snow or ice. These weren't random acts of assistance. They showed clear evidence of planning, coordination, and problem-solving across species boundaries. The forest's transformation extended to its physical structure. Animals began creating shared pathways, clearing obstacles that might hinder smaller species and establishing common rest areas where different creatures could gather safely. The landscape was being actively modified to support this new cooperative ecosystem. Research teams documented the emergence of sophisticated problem-solving behaviors across species. Animals were observed using tools, creating simple shelters, and even developing methods to store food for shared use during harsh weather. The cub's influence had sparked a cognitive revolution throughout the forest community. As winter deepened, the team witnessed the development of what appeared to be cultural traditions among the forest's inhabitants. Different species began adopting and sharing successful survival strategies, creating a collective knowledge base that benefited the entire ecosystem. This transfer of learning across species boundaries challenged fundamental assumptions about animal intelligence. The ET's impact on conservation practices was immediate and far-reaching. Traditional wildlife management strategies, based on maintaining separation between species and controlling population through competition, were being replaced by new approaches that recognized and supported natural cooperation. The forest had become a model for sustainable ecosystem management. Dr. Carter's ongoing research revealed increasingly complex social structures forming within the animal community. Different species had begun taking on specialized roles in maintaining forest health, some acting as sentinels, others as teachers, and still others as caregivers for young or injured animals regardless of species. The indigenous elders' traditional knowledge provided crucial insights into interpreting these new behaviors. Their understanding of animal intelligence and interconnectedness helped bridge the gap between scientific observation and practical application of these revolutionary discoveries. The forest was teaching humanity ancient lessons through modern observation. As spring approached, the team began documenting perhaps the most remarkable development yet: the emergence of what appeared to be ceremonial behaviors among the forest's inhabitants. Animals would gather at specific times and locations, engaging in coordinated movements and vocalizations that suggested cultural rather than purely instinctual activities. The cub's influence continued to grow, its teaching methods becoming more sophisticated as it matured. Young animals from various species were now actively seeking out its guidance, creating a natural education system that transcended traditional species boundaries. The forest had become a living classroom where knowledge flowed freely between all its inhabitants. The mother bear's recovery had sparked a chain reaction throughout the ecosystem. Other animals began showing increased trust in human intervention when needed, approaching the ranger station with injuries or seeking assistance during harsh weather. The barrier between wild and human worlds was dissolving, replaced by a new model of cooperative conservation. Senior Ranger Martinez's team documented significant changes in territorial behavior throughout their jurisdiction. Traditional boundaries between species were becoming more fluid, with animals sharing resources and space in ways that maximize survival for all. The concept of territory was evolving from exclusive ownership to shared stewardship of the land. The implications for wildlife conservation stretched far beyond Pine Ridge Station. Other ranger stations began reporting similar changes in animal behavior, suggesting that the phenomenon was spreading naturally through wildlife populations. The forest was demonstrating its capacity for self-organization and adaptation in ways never before imagined. As spring's first warmth began melting the winter snow, the team observed new developments in the forest's social structure. Animals were creating sophisticated networks of communication and cooperation that extended far beyond immediate survival needs. The ecosystem was evolving into a truly integrated community where different species worked together for common goals. The story of Pine Ridge Station's remarkable discoveries continued to unfold, challenging fundamental assumptions about wildlife intelligence and behavior. The crying bear cub that had first sought human help had initiated a transformation that would reshape our understanding of the natural world and humanity's role within it. Watch for the next chapter in this extraordinary journey, where we'll explore the expanding influence of these discoveries on global wildlife conservation efforts and the remarkable new developments that emerged as spring brought fresh changes to the transformed forest of Evergreen mountain range. Spring. Rain drummed steadily against Pine Ridge Station's windows as Chief Ranger Mark Thompson reviewed an urgent report from his night patrol team. Through the downpour, their thermal cameras had captured something extraordinary. The young bear cub guiding a group of injured animals toward their medical facility. Most remarkably, the procession moved with deliberate organization. Stronger animals helping weaker ones while the cub maintained perfect formation. Dr. Emma Carter watched in amazement as her monitoring equipment picked up unprecedented patterns of communication between the approaching animals. The vocalizations weren't random distress calls, but rather a coordinated symphony of sounds that seemed to convey specific information about injuries, terrain hazards, and safe passage routes. This sophisticated exchange of information challenged everything known about wildlife communication. Senior Ranger James Martinez positioned himself at the observation post, documenting each remarkable moment as the unusual procession emerged from the misty forest. 3 limping wolves, supported by healthy pack members, followed the cub's lead. Behind them, a young moose with a deep gash moved carefully, flanked by 2 mature bears who provided stability. The level of interspecies cooperation defied every natural instinct of these normally adversarial creatures. Sarah Chen's advanced medical scanners revealed the true scope of what they were witnessing. Each injured animal displayed signs of receiving basic first aid, wounds cleaned with specific medicinal plants, makeshift splints fashioned from bark and vines, and poultices of chewed herbs applied to infections. Someone or something had provided emergency medical care in the field before bringing them to the station. Rob Wilson's drone footage from the previous hours filled in crucial details of this extraordinary story. The cub had systematically traveled through miles of territory, locating injured animals and organizing what could only be described as a wilderness rescue operation. The methodical nature of its search pattern suggested careful planning and deliberate execution. The station's perimeter came alive with activity as the mother bear appeared from the shadows, carrying bundles of specific plants known for their healing properties. Her contribution to this impromptu medical mission demonstrated remarkable understanding of herbal medicine and wound care. She worked alongside her growing cub, showing other animals how to use these natural remedies effectively. Dr. Carter's preliminary analysis revealed something even more astonishing. The injured animal's vital signs showed unusually low stress levels, despite their proximity to natural predators and humans. Through some remarkable means, they had developed trust in this unconventional healing arrangement, setting aside instinctive fears for the sake of recovery. The indigenous elders who regularly consulted with the station recognized profound significance. In these events, their ancestral stories spoke of times when animals possessed deep healing knowledge, working together to maintain the health of entire ecosystems. What they witnessed now seemed to validate these ancient teachings in extraordinary ways. As lightning illuminated the pre-dawn sky, the station's medical facility transformed into an unprecedented scene of interspecies cooperation. Under the cub's apparent guidance, animals took turns receiving care, maintaining remarkable order and patience. Those who had already been treated remained nearby, offering comfort and support to newcomers in ways that suggested deep emotional intelligence. The mother bear's behavior demonstrated sophisticated medical knowledge. She showed clear understanding of which herbs worked best for different types of injuries, even adjusting treatments based on each species' specific needs. Her methods suggested accumulated wisdom being actively shared across species boundaries. Thompson's team documented remarkable instances of animals actively assisting in treatment procedures. Smaller creatures would help clean wounds in difficult-to-reach places, while larger animals provided stability and support during delicate medical procedures. This cooperative healthcare system showed extraordinary levels of coordination and Mutual understanding. The station's wildlife cameras captured touching scenes of emotional support between different species. Injured animals received constant companionship from others, regardless of traditional predator-prey relationships. This suspension of natural instincts in favor of communal care demonstrated remarkable social evolution. As morning approached, the team observed sophisticated patient care protocols emerging among the animals. Regular checks were conducted on bandaged wounds, water was brought to those too weak to move, and comfortable resting positions were maintained through careful cooperation between species. These behaviors suggested unprecedented levels of medical awareness and compassion. Scientific observers from major research institutions arrived at Pine Ridge Station, drawn by reports of these extraordinary developments. Their initial findings confirmed what the ranger team had witnessed. The forest's inhabitants had developed a sophisticated medical support system that transcended species boundaries and natural instincts. The impact on wildlife biology was immediate and far-reaching. Traditional understanding of animal behavior and intelligence required complete revision in light of these demonstrations of advanced medical knowledge and cooperative care. The forest was revealing capabilities that challenged fundamental assumptions about wildlife consciousness. As rain continued to fall, new patients arrived at regular intervals, each group showing the same remarkable organization and cooperation. The cubs' influence had created a systematic approach to wildlife healthcare that functioned with surprising efficiency, ensuring all creatures received necessary treatment regardless of species or status. The forest's social structure showed extraordinary adaptation to this new healthcare system. Animals took turns standing guard, ensuring the safety of recovering patients while maintaining calm and order around the medical facility. Their coordinated efforts demonstrated remarkable understanding of security and community protection. The mother bear's teaching methods evolved to include detailed medical training sessions. She would demonstrate proper treatment techniques to interested animals, creating a growing pool of capable caregivers throughout the forest community. This transfer of knowledge showed remarkable educational sophistication. Partnership between animals and the station's medical team reached unprecedented levels. Creatures would actively cooperate during treatment procedures, sometimes demonstrating specific injuries or symptoms to help humans understand their needs better. This revolutionary cooperation transformed wildlife medical care protocols. The transformation affected traditional species relationships in profound ways. Natural predators and prey shared recovery spaces peacefully, supporting each other's healing process in ways that defied conventional understanding of wildlife behavior. This suspension of hunting instincts demonstrated remarkable social evolution. Dr. Carter's team documented the emergence of what appeared to be designated healing spaces throughout the forest. Animals had created sheltered areas stocked with medicinal plants and basic supplies, suggesting the development of a distributed healthcare network across their territory. The indigenous elders' traditional knowledge provided crucial framework for understanding these developments. Their understanding of natural medicine and wildlife behavior helped bridge the gap between scientific observation and practical application, offering valuable insights into this emerging phenomenon. The continuing rain brought new challenges that demonstrated the sophistication of the forest's medical response system. When weather threatened to flood recovery areas, animals worked together to relocate patients to safer ground, showing remarkable organizational capabilities and foresight. The impact of these discoveries spread beyond Pine Ridge Station's immediate territory. Other wildlife preserves reported early signs of similar medical cooperation between species, suggesting that this transformation in animal behavior might represent a broader evolutionary development. As morning light finally broke through the clouds, Pine Ridge Station stood witness to a revolution in understanding wildlife capabilities. The forest had revealed sophisticated medical knowledge and cooperative healing practices that would forever change our perspective on animal intelligence and social behavior. Watch for the next chapter in this extraordinary story as we continue to explore how these remarkable developments reshaped our understanding of wildlife consciousness and cooperation in ways never before imagined. Summer heat shimmered above Evergreen mountain range as Chief Ranger Mark Thompson stood transfixed by an extraordinary sight unfolding in the valley below. Through his binoculars, he watched as groups of animals gathered around freshly created water features, taking turns accessing the precious resource in an orderly fashion that defied natural instincts. The growing bear cub's influence had expanded beyond simple cooperation into the realm of sophisticated social engineering. Dr. Emma Carter's latest observations revealed an unexpected development in the forest's rapidly evolving culture. Animals had begun creating designated spaces for what appeared to be educational purposes. Young creatures from various species gathered in these natural amphitheaters where experienced adults would demonstrate essential survival skills. The hierarchical structure of these teaching sessions suggested the emergence of a formal knowledge transfer system. Senior Ranger James Martinez documented a fascinating new phenomenon during his dawn patrol. Different species had established what could only be described as community gardens, areas where animals actively cultivated specific plants known for their nutritional and medicinal properties. The level of organization in these spaces indicated long-term planning and an understanding of sustainable resource management. Sarah Chen's monitoring equipment captured evidence of sophisticated healthcare practices emerging among the forest inhabitants. Certain animals had taken on roles similar to medical providers, using their species-specific skills to help others. Woodpeckers would remove parasites from larger animals, while bears with their dexterous paws would help extract thorns and splinters from injured creatures. Rob Wilson's drone footage revealed intricate pathways connecting various sections of the forest. These weren't random animal trails, but carefully maintained thoroughfares with designated rest areas, water stations, and even what appeared to be emergency shelters. The infrastructure showed remarkable forethought in its design and implementation. The mother bear had evolved into something akin to a master teacher, regularly conducting sessions that demonstrated complex problem-solving techniques. Her methods showed remarkable adaptation to each species' unique capabilities, suggesting a deep understanding of different learning styles and physical limitations. Under her guidance, the forest's inhabitants were developing increasingly sophisticated approaches to survival and cooperation. As summer progressed, the team observed the emergence of what appeared to be specialized roles within the animal community. Certain creatures had become designated lookouts, others served as mediators in disputes, and some focused on maintaining the forest's new infrastructure. This division of labor demonstrated an unprecedented level of social organization. The indigenous elders who regularly consulted with the station shared ancient stories that paralleled current developments with remarkable accuracy. Their traditional knowledge spoke of times when animals lived in greater harmony, guided by specially gifted creatures who could bridge the gaps between species. What was once considered legend was manifesting as reality before their eyes. Dr. Carter's acoustic analysis revealed further evolution in the forest's communication system. Animals had developed specific calls that could convey complex messages about resource locations, potential dangers, and even weather changes. This sophisticated warning system had significantly reduced casualties from natural hazards throughout the region. The transformation extended to hunting practices within the territory. Predator species had established clear boundaries, and hunting Schedules, ensuring sustainable prey populations while maintaining adequate food supplies for all carnivores. This regulated approach to hunting demonstrated an understanding of long-term ecosystem balance. Research teams documented the emergence of what appeared to be conflict resolution protocols among different species. When disputes arose over resources or territory, animals would gather in specific locations where senior members of various species would work together to find peaceful solutions. These mediation sessions showed remarkable sophistication in their execution. The summer heat brought new challenges that tested the forest's cooperative systems. During a particularly dry spell, animals worked together to create and maintain water collection points, ensuring fair access for all species. The level of organization in water management suggested an understanding of resource conservation and fair distribution. The cubs' teaching methods had evolved to include what appeared to be planned curriculum progression. Young animals would start with basic survival skills before moving on to more complex social behaviors and problem-solving challenges. The systematic nature of this education suggested a deliberate approach to knowledge transfer across generations. Scientists from leading institutions around the world gathered at Pine Ridge Station to study this unprecedented phenomenon. Their research confirmed what the ranger team had observed. The forest's inhabitants had developed a complex social structure that transcended traditional species boundaries and behavioral limitations. The impact on conservation theory was revolutionary. Traditional wildlife management practices, based on maintaining separation between species and controlling population through competition, were being completely reconsidered. The forest demonstrated that cooperation, rather than competition, could drive successful ecosystem development. As temperatures soared, the team witnessed the establishment of sophisticated cooling stations throughout the forest. Animals had created shaded areas with natural water features, which were shared among different species according to need rather than dominance. This cooperative approach to weather management showed remarkable foresight and planning. The forest's new social structure showed exceptional resilience in facing environmental challenges. When a lightning-sparked fire threatened certain areas, the animals coordinated efficient evacuations and established temporary shelters that housed multiple species. The level of organization displayed during these emergencies exceeded anything previously documented in wildlife behavior. The mother bear's influence extended beyond immediate survival skills. She appeared to be teaching complex social behaviors, conflict resolution techniques, and resource-sharing strategies that benefited the entire ecosystem. Her methods suggested a deep understanding of different species' needs and capabilities. Partnership with human researchers reached new levels as animals began actively participating in scientific studies. They would voluntarily approach observation posts, demonstrate behaviors for documentation, and even guide researchers to significant discoveries within the forest. This cooperative approach to research yielded unprecedented insights into wildlife intelligence and social structure. The transformation affected territorial behavior in unexpected ways. Traditional boundaries between species became more fluid, with animals sharing spaces and resources in ways that maximize survival for all. The concept of territory had evolved from exclusive ownership to shared stewardship of the land. Dr. Carter's team documented the emergence of what appeared to be cultural practices among various species. Animals would gather for what seemed to be social events beyond mere survival needs, engaging in coordinated movements and vocalizations that suggested cultural rather than purely instinctual behavior. The indigenous elders' traditional knowledge provided crucial context for these developments. Their stories spoke of times when animals and humans shared deeper understanding, suggesting that the current changes might represent a return to more natural relationships between species rather than a completely new phenomenon. The summer season brought new challenges that demonstrated the sophistication of the forest's social organization. When drought threatened important food sources, multiple species worked together to create alternative solutions, showing remarkable problem-solving abilities and cooperation. The impact of these discoveries spread far beyond Pine Ridge Station. Other wildlife preserves began reporting similar, though less developed, changes in animal behavior. The transformation appeared to be spreading naturally through wildlife populations, suggesting a fundamental shift in ecosystem dynamics. As the season progressed, Pine Ridge Station became a global center for studying animal intelligence and cooperation. The forest's inhabitants demonstrated daily that traditional understandings of wildlife behavior and capabilities had barely scratched the surface of what was possible when different species worked together in harmony. Watch for the next installment of this extraordinary story as we explore how these remarkable developments continued to evolve and influence wildlife conservation practices around the world. Late summer storms swept across Evergreen mountain range as Chief Ranger Mark Thompson examined a mysterious series of geometric patterns that had appeared throughout the forest. Perfect circles, interconnected lines, and complex arrangements of stones and fallen logs formed what appeared to be intentional symbols visible only from above. The growing bear cub's latest innovation had taken everyone by surprise. The emergence of what seemed to be a primitive form of written communication. Dr. Emma Carter worked tirelessly in her research station, analyzing photographs of these intricate patterns. The arrangements weren't random, they corresponded with specific animal behaviors and movements. Some formations marked safe water sources, others indicated dangerous terrain, and still others appeared to serve as gathering points for different species. The forest's inhabitants had developed their own system of environmental annotation. Senior Ranger James Martinez made a startling discovery during his evening patrol. Deep within a secluded valley, he found evidence of animals creating tools, not just using found objects, but actively modifying materials to serve specific purposes. Otters had begun shaping river reeds into fishing implements, while raccoons fashioned simple probing tools from flexible branches. This technological advancement marked another unprecedented leap in wildlife behavior. Sarah Chen's advanced monitoring systems detected unusual patterns in animal movement throughout the territory. Different species had established what appeared to be scheduled patrols, with groups taking turns monitoring the forest's boundaries and interior regions. This coordinated surveillance system demonstrated a sophisticated approach to collective security. Rob Wilson's specialized cameras captured remarkable footage of nighttime activities. Animals had developed a complex system of bioluminescent signaling, using naturally glowing fungi and insects to create visible markers and messages in the darkness. This adaptation showed incredible ingenuity in utilizing natural resources for communication. The mother bear's teaching sessions had evolved into sophisticated symposiums where different species shared their unique knowledge and skills. Eagles demonstrated aerial navigation techniques to ground-dwelling creatures, while beavers shared their engineering expertise with other species interested in water management. This cross-species knowledge exchange accelerated the development of new survival strategies. The changing season brought fresh challenges that tested the forest's innovative social structure. When early storms threatened to flood important lowland areas, animals worked together to create an intricate system of drainage channels and elevated shelters. Their engineering projects showed remarkable foresight and understanding of water management principles. Dr. Carter's research team documented the emergence of specialized animal groups focused on forest maintenance and repair. Certain creatures, had taken on roles as infrastructure specialists, regularly inspecting and maintaining the network of paths, shelters, and resource collection points that had become crucial to the community's survival. The indigenous elders shared ancient stories of animal societies that once possessed similar capabilities. Their traditional knowledge spoke of times when creatures worked together to shape the landscape, creating sustainable environments that benefited all species. These historical accounts provided valuable context for understanding the current developments. As autumn approached, the team observed the formation of what appeared to be educational committees among different species. Experienced animals would gather to discuss teaching methods and share effective strategies for passing knowledge to younger generations. This structured approach to education represented a revolutionary development in wildlife behavior. The transformation extended to resource management practices throughout the territory. Animals had established sophisticated food storage systems, creating preserved caches that could sustain multiple species through lean times. Their methods showed remarkable understanding of food preservation and distribution logistics. Research. Teams documented the emergence of what appeared to be ceremonial practices among the forest's inhabitants. Animals would gather at specific times and locations, engaging in coordinated movements and vocalizations that seemed to serve social bonding purposes rather than immediate survival needs. The cubs' influence had sparked the development of sophisticated problem-solving methodologies among different species. Animals would approach challenges systematically, trying different solutions and sharing successful strategies with others. This analytical approach to survival challenges demonstrated remarkable cognitive advancement. Scientists from environmental institutes worldwide flocked to Pine Ridge Station, bringing advanced monitoring equipment and new research perspectives. Their studies confirmed the unprecedented nature of these developments. The forest's inhabitants had created a complex society that transcended traditional limitations of wild animal behavior. The impact on wildlife conservation theory continued to grow as new evidence emerged of the forest's remarkable transformation. Traditional assumptions about animal intelligence and social capabilities were being challenged daily by observations of sophisticated cooperative behaviors and problem-solving abilities. As the weather patterns shifted, the team witnessed the establishment of complex weather monitoring systems among the forest's inhabitants. Animals had learned to interpret natural signs and share weather predictions across species boundaries, helping the entire community prepare for environmental changes. The forest's social structure showed remarkable adaptability in facing new challenges. When seasonal changes affected traditional food sources, animals worked together to develop alternative foraging strategies and establish new resource collection points. Their cooperative approach to problem-solving demonstrated exceptional creativity and flexibility. The mother bear's role had evolved into that of a master facilitator, bringing together different species to share their unique perspectives and abilities. Her teaching methods emphasized the importance of combining various skills and knowledge to create innovative solutions to survival challenges. Partnership between animals and researchers reached new levels of sophistication as creatures actively participated in scientific documentation efforts. They would demonstrate new behaviors and innovations for observation, contributing directly to humanity's understanding of wildlife intelligence and social development. The transformation affected territorial behavior in unprecedented ways. Animals had established shared spaces that served specific community functions, learning centers, medical treatment areas, and resource distribution points. These common areas operated under sophisticated social protocols that ensured peaceful cooperation. Dr. Carter's team documented the emergence of what appeared to be spiritual awareness among various species. Animals would gather in natural sanctuaries, engaging in behaviors that suggested contemplation and communal bonding beyond immediate survival needs. The indigenous elders' wisdom provided valuable insights into interpreting these new developments. Their traditional understanding of animal consciousness helped bridge the gap between scientific observation and spiritual awareness, offering a more complete perspective on the forest's transformation. The changing seasons brought fresh opportunities for observing the sophistication of the forest's social organization. When migration patterns shifted due to climate variations, resident species worked together to accommodate traveling creatures, showing remarkable hospitality and resource-sharing capabilities. The impact of these discoveries continued to spread beyond Pine Ridge Station's boundaries. Other wildlife preserves reported early signs of similar behavioral changes, suggesting that this transformation in animal consciousness might represent a broader evolutionary development. As autumn colors began to paint the landscape, Pine Ridge Station stood at the forefront of a revolution in our understanding of wildlife intelligence and social capability. Each day brought new evidence that animals possessed far greater potential for cooperation and innovation than previously imagined. Watch for the next installment of this extraordinary journey as we explore how these remarkable developments continue to evolve and reshape our understanding of wildlife consciousness and social organization. Autumn mist cloaked Evergreen Mountain. Range as Chief Ranger, Mark Thompson studied an extraordinary series of cave paintings discovered deep within the forest. The artwork, created with natural pigments and precise brushstrokes, depicted complex scenes of interspecies cooperation. Most remarkably, the paintings were fresh, evidence that the forest's inhabitants had developed artistic expression as a means of recording their emerging culture. Dr. Emma Carter meticulously documented a revolutionary breakthrough in animal communication. Beyond vocalizations and physical signals, the forest's inhabitants had begun using rhythmic patterns of sound, stones tapped against hollow logs, synchronized footfalls, and coordinated calls that created complex musical compositions. These acoustic innovations suggested the emergence of a sophisticated cultural expression system. Senior Ranger James Martinez observed an unprecedented phenomenon during his morning rounds. Animals had established specialized healing centers, where injured or sick creatures received care from multiple species working in coordination. Each species contributed unique abilities: birds cleaning wounds, herbivores gathering medicinal, plants and larger animals providing protection and transportation for the injured. Sarah Chen's monitoring equipment detected elaborate underground networks connecting various parts of the forest. What initially appeared to be simple animal burrows revealed themselves as carefully engineered passages complete with ventilation, systems, and emergency exits. This subterranean infrastructure demonstrated remarkable architectural understanding. Rob Wilson's thermal imaging revealed sophisticated temperature regulation systems throughout the forest. Animals had created networks of interconnected dens and shelters that maintained stable temperatures through clever use of natural ventilation and insulation. Their engineering prowess challenged conventional understanding of wildlife capabilities. The mother bear's teaching now incorporated elements of abstract thinking and problem-solving. She would present young animals with complex challenges that required creative solutions, encouraging them to experiment with different approaches and learn from both success and failure. This methodical approach to education showed remarkable pedagogical sophistication, The autumn season brought new innovations in food preservation techniques. Animals worked together to create sophisticated storage systems, using natural refrigeration in deep caves and developing methods to protect food supplies from spoilage. Their solutions showed deep understanding of environmental conditions and preservation principles. Dr. Carter's research team discovered evidence of mathematical awareness among the forest's inhabitants. Animals demonstrated understanding of basic geometry in their construction projects and showed ability to calculate quantities when distributing resources. This cognitive advancement suggested previously unknown intellectual capabilities. The indigenous elders recognized patterns in animal behavior that aligned with ancient prophecies. Their traditional stories spoke of a time when animals would reclaim their ancestral wisdom and bridge the gap between natural and human worlds. The current developments seem to fulfill these age-old predictions. As temperatures dropped, the team witnessed the emergence of new social traditions. Animals gathered for regular community events that combined practical activities with social bonding, creating complex rituals that strengthened cooperation between species and generations. The transformation extended to childcare practices throughout the forest. Different species had begun sharing parenting responsibilities, creating communal nurseries where young animals learned and played together, regardless of species. This cooperative approach to raising offspring showed remarkable social evolution. Research teams documented the development of sophisticated waste management systems within the territory. Animals had designated specific areas for different types of waste and developed methods to maintain cleanliness in communal spaces. Their sanitation practices demonstrated remarkable environmental awareness. The cubs' influence had sparked the emergence of specialized roles within the community. Certain animals focused on teaching, others on healing, and some on maintaining infrastructure. This division of labor showed sophisticated social organization previously unknown in wildlife. Communities. Scientists from environmental institutes worldwide gathered at Pine Ridge Station to study these unprecedented developments. Their research confirmed that the forest's inhabitants had created a complex society that transcended traditional limitations of wild animal behavior and suggested new possibilities for interspecies cooperation. The impact on wildlife conservation theory grew as evidence mounted of the forest's remarkable transformation. Traditional assumptions about animal intelligence and social capabilities were challenged daily by observations of sophisticated cooperative behaviors and problem-solving abilities. As autumn progressed, the team observed the establishment of advanced weather prediction systems among the forest's inhabitants. Animals had learned to interpret subtle environmental changes and communicate weather forecasts across species boundaries, helping the entire community prepare for changing conditions. The forest's social structure showed remarkable adaptability in facing seasonal challenges. When traditional food sources became scarce, animals worked together to develop alternative foraging strategies and establish new resource collection points. Their cooperative approach to problem-solving demonstrated exceptional creativity. The mother bear's role evolved to include facilitating cultural exchange between different species. She organized regular gatherings where animals shared their unique perspectives and abilities, fostering innovation through combination of diverse skills and knowledge. Partnership between animals and researchers reached new levels of sophistication as creatures actively participated in scientific documentation. They would demonstrate new behaviors and innovations for observation, contributing directly to humanity's understanding of wildlife intelligence. The transformation affected hunting practices in unprecedented ways. Predator species had developed highly efficient cooperative hunting techniques that minimized energy expenditure and ensured fair distribution of resources among all carnivores. Dr. Carter's team documented the emergence of what appeared to be artistic expression among various species. Animals created intricate patterns in natural materials, arranged objects in aesthetically pleasing ways, and engaged in coordinated movements that suggested cultural rather than instinctual behavior. The indigenous elders' wisdom provided valuable context for interpreting these new developments. Their traditional understanding of animal consciousness helped bridge the gap between scientific observation and spiritual awareness, offering a more complete perspective on the forest's transformation. The changing season brought fresh opportunities for observing the sophistication of the forest's social organization. When migration patterns shifted due to climate variations, resident species worked together to accommodate traveling creatures, showing remarkable hospitality. The impact of these discoveries continued to spread beyond Pine Ridge Station's boundaries. Other wildlife preserves reported early signs of similar behavioral changes, suggesting that this transformation in animal consciousness might represent a broader evolutionary development. As autumn winds swept through the forest, Pine Ridge Station stood at the forefront of a revolution in our understanding of wildlife intelligence and social capability. Each day brought new evidence that animals possessed far greater potential for cooperation and innovation than previously imagined. Watch for the next installment of this extraordinary journey as we explore how these remarkable developments continue to evolve and reshape our understanding of wildlife consciousness and social organization in ways that would forever change our perspective on the natural world. Mid-autumn frost painted delicate patterns across Pine Ridge Station's observation windows as Chief Ranger Mark Thompson reviewed footage that would revolutionize wildlife science forever. The growing bear cub, now nearly adolescent, had achieved something unprecedented, initiating cooperative hunting practices between predator and prey species. Instead of traditional chase and capture, animals were developing sustainable harvest protocols that ensured survival for all. Dr. Emma Carter meticulously documented an extraordinary breakthrough in animal problem-solving capabilities. Deep in the forest's heart, creatures from various species collaborated to construct elevated walkways using fallen logs and vines, creating safe passage across dangerous ravines. These engineering projects demonstrated sophisticated planning and execution previously thought impossible in wildlife communities. Senior Ranger James Martinez discovered a remarkable innovation during his twilight patrol. Animals had established specialized recovery zones where injured creatures could heal under the protection of multiple species. What made these areas unique was their sophisticated design, naturally heated by thermal springs and equipped with carefully arranged medicinal plants. The level of organization suggested advanced medical knowledge being shared across species boundaries. Sarah Chen's high-tech monitoring systems revealed an intricate network of underground fungal connections being actively maintained by forest inhabitants. Animals were deliberately cultivating and protecting these mycological networks, which served as communication channels and resource distribution systems throughout the territory. This sophisticated use of natural infrastructure demonstrated remarkable ecological understanding. Rob Wilson's drone surveillance captured evidence of strategic resource management unlike anything previously documented. Animals had created specialized storage facilities within hollow trees and underground chambers, complete with natural preservation systems using specific plants known for their antibacterial properties. The sophisticated approach to food security showed remarkable foresight and planning. The mother bear's educational sessions now included advanced problem-solving challenges that required collaboration between different species. Young animals learned to combine their unique abilities to overcome obstacles that no single species could handle alone. This innovative approach to education fostered unprecedented levels of interspecies cooperation. Specialized animal teams emerged to handle specific community needs. Some groups focused on maintaining the forest's infrastructure, others on gathering and preserving food supplies, while others specialized in caring for the young or injured. This division of labor showed remarkable social organization and coordination. Dr. Carter's research uncovered evidence of sophisticated communication networks extending far beyond vocal signals. Animals used complex combinations of scent markers, visual signs, and tactile signals to convey detailed information across species boundaries. This multi-layered communication system enabled unprecedented levels of coordination and cooperation. The indigenous elders, sharing their wisdom with the station, spoke of ancient prophecies that described similar developments. Their traditional knowledge suggested that animals possessed dormant capabilities for advanced social organization and cooperation, which could emerge under the right circumstances. As winter approached, the forest's inhabitants demonstrated remarkable architectural innovations. Animals collaborated to create warmth-sharing shelters that could house multiple species safely, using natural materials and design principles that maximized heat retention while ensuring proper ventilation. The transformation extended to conflict resolution practices throughout the territory. Animals had developed sophisticated mediation protocols with designated neutral zones where disputes could be resolved peacefully under the guidance of experienced members from various species. Research teams documented the emergence of what appeared to be ceremonial practices around major life events. Birth, death, and coming-of-age moments were marked by gatherings that transcended species boundaries, suggesting the development of shared cultural traditions. The cub's influence sparked innovations in environmental management techniques. Animals worked together to maintain forest health, removing diseased vegetation, managing water flow, and ensuring sustainable resource use. Their actions showed remarkable understanding of ecological balance. Scientists worldwide gathered at Pine Ridge Station to study these unprecedented developments. Their research confirmed that the forest's inhabitants had developed cognitive and social capabilities far beyond traditional scientific understanding of wildlife behavior. The impact on conservation theory grew as evidence mounted of sophisticated decision-making processes among the animal population. Traditional assumptions about wildlife intelligence and social organization were challenged by daily observations of complex cooperative behaviors. As temperatures dropped, the team witnessed the establishment of innovative food distribution systems. Animals had created networks of food-sharing stations throughout the territory, ensuring that every member of the community had access to necessary resources regardless of their hunting or gathering capabilities. The forest's social structure showed remarkable resilience in adapting to environmental challenges. When early frost threatened traditional food sources, animals worked together to develop alternative foraging strategies and create new storage solutions. Their cooperative approach to problem-solving demonstrated exceptional adaptability. The mother bear's teaching methods evolved to include advanced planning and strategy sessions. She would gather animals from different species to discuss upcoming challenges and develop coordinated responses, showing remarkable foresight and organizational ability. Partnership between wildlife and researchers reached new levels of sophistication. As animals actively participated in scientific studies, they would demonstrate new behaviors and innovations for documentation, contributing directly to humanity's understanding of wildlife intelligence. The transformation affected territorial behavior in unprecedented ways. Traditional boundaries between species became fluid, with animals sharing spaces and resources based on community needs rather than individual dominance. This cooperative approach to territory management showed remarkable social evolution. Dr. Carter's team documented the emergence of what appeared to be aesthetic preferences among various species. Animals would create and maintain beautiful spaces within the forest, arranging elements in ways that suggested appreciation for visual harmony beyond practical purposes. The indigenous elders' traditional knowledge provided crucial insights into interpreting these new developments. Their understanding of animal consciousness helped bridge the gap between scientific observation and spiritual awareness, offering a more complete perspective on the forest's transformation. The changing seasons brought fresh opportunities for observing the sophistication of the forest's social organization. When harsh weather threatened vulnerable members of the community, animals worked together to ensure everyone's survival, showing remarkable compassion and cooperation. The impact of these discoveries continued to spread beyond Pine Ridge Station's boundaries. Other wildlife preserves reported early signs of similar behavioral changes, suggesting that this transformation in animal consciousness might represent a broader evolutionary development in wildlife intelligence and social capability. As winter's first snowflakes began to fall, Pine Ridge Station stood at the forefront of a revolution in our understanding of wildlife behavior and potential. Each day brought new evidence that animals possessed far greater capabilities for cooperation, innovation, and social organization than previously imagined. Watch for the next installment of this extraordinary journey as we explore how these remarkable developments continue to evolve and reshape our understanding of wildlife consciousness in ways that would forever change our perspective on the natural world. Winter's first heavy snowfall blanketed Evergreen mountain range as Chief Ranger Mark Thompson studied a remarkable phenomenon through night vision equipment. In the pre-dawn darkness, animals worked with methodical precision to clear safe travel. Corridors through deep snow, using techniques that displayed advanced understanding of physics and engineering. Small creatures rode on larger ones' backs, directing the snow removal efforts with surprising efficiency. Dr. Emma Carter's latest research revealed an unprecedented development in wildlife intelligence. Animals had begun creating detailed snow maps, marking safe passages and dangerous areas using intricate patterns of colored berries and leaves preserved beneath ice sheets. These natural warning systems demonstrated sophisticated spatial awareness and communication abilities previously unknown in wildlife communities. Senior Ranger James Martinez discovered something extraordinary during his early morning patrol. Deep within a network of caves, animals had established what could only be described as emergency supply stations. Each carefully maintained cache contained food, bedding materials, and medicinal plants positioned strategically throughout the territory to support any creature in need during harsh weather. Sarah Chen's advanced monitoring systems detected complex patterns in animal movement that suggested the emergence of organized rescue teams. When heavy snow trapped smaller creatures, specialized groups of different species would coordinate their efforts to create escape routes and provide emergency assistance. Their rescue operations showed remarkable planning and execution. Rob Wilson's thermal imaging captured evidence of sophisticated temperature regulation methods being implemented throughout the forest. Animals had developed systems for creating warm air pockets within snowbanks, using principles of thermodynamics to maintain survival temperatures for various species. These innovations demonstrated remarkable environmental adaptation capabilities. The mother bear's leadership had evolved to include strategic planning for entire forest regions. She coordinated efforts to establish emergency shelters at regular intervals throughout the territory, ensuring no animal would be stranded too far from safety during severe weather. Her organizational skills showed remarkable development of Long-term planning abilities, the forest's inhabitants displayed unprecedented innovation in dealing with winter challenges. Animals created networks of tunnels beneath the snow, complete with ventilation shafts and emergency exits, demonstrating advanced understanding of structural engineering and safety principles that challenge traditional views of wildlife capabilities. Dr. Carter's research team documented the emergence of sophisticated teaching methodologies among different species. Experienced animals would demonstrate survival techniques to younger ones, using progressive learning approaches that showed remarkable understanding of educational psychology. Their methods included practical demonstrations, supervised practice, and regular skill assessments. The indigenous elders who advised the station recognized patterns that aligned with their ancestral teachings. Their traditional stories spoke of times when animals possessed advanced knowledge of survival and cooperation, suggesting that current developments might represent reawakening of dormant capabilities rather than entirely new behaviors. As winter deepened, the team observed the formation of specialized medical care centers within the larger cave systems. Different species contributed their unique abilities to healing practices, creating a sophisticated healthcare system that combined physical treatment with preventive care and rehabilitation services. The transformation extended to food distribution practices throughout the territory. Animals had developed complex rationing systems, ensuring fair allocation of limited resources during harsh weather. Their methods showed remarkable understanding of logistics and resource management principles. Research teams documented the emergence of what appeared to be mathematical understanding among various species. Animals demonstrated ability to calculate quantities, divide resources proportionally, and create geometric patterns in their construction projects that suggested comprehension of basic mathematical principles. The cubs' influence had sparked innovations in weather prediction and preparation. Animals worked together to interpret natural signs and implement appropriate survival strategies, showing remarkable ability to anticipate and respond to changing environmental conditions. Scientists worldwide gathered at Pine Ridge Station to study these unprecedented developments. Their research confirmed that the forest's inhabitants had developed cognitive and social capabilities, far beyond traditional scientific understanding of wildlife behavior and intelligence. The impact on wildlife conservation theory grew as evidence mounted of sophisticated problem-solving abilities among the animal population. Traditional assumptions about wildlife intelligence and social organization were challenged by daily observations of complex cooperative behaviors and innovative solutions to survival challenges. As winter storms intensified, the team witnessed the establishment of sophisticated communication networks throughout the forest. Animals had developed methods for transmitting important information across long distances, using combinations of sound, visual signals, and scent markers to maintain community awareness and coordination. The forest's social structure showed remarkable resilience in facing extreme weather challenges. When traditional food sources became inaccessible under deep snow, animals worked together to develop alternative foraging strategies and create new storage solutions. Their cooperative approach to problem-solving demonstrated exceptional adaptability. The mother bear's teaching methods evolved to include advanced survival techniques specifically adapted for winter conditions. She organized training sessions where different species could share their unique cold weather survival strategies, fostering innovation through combination of diverse knowledge and skills. Partnership between wildlife and researchers reached new levels of sophistication as animals actively participated in scientific studies. They would demonstrate new behaviors and innovations for documentation, contributing directly to humanity's understanding of wildlife intelligence and social development. The transformation affected territorial behavior in unprecedented ways. Traditional boundaries between species became fluid, with animals sharing warm spaces and limited resources based on need rather than dominance. This cooperative approach to territory management showed remarkable social evolution. Dr. Carter's team documented the emergence of what appeared to be ritualistic behavior among various species. Animals would gather during specific times of day to perform coordinated activities that seemed to serve social bonding purposes beyond immediate survival needs. The indigenous elders' traditional knowledge provided crucial insights into interpreting these new developments. Their understanding of animal consciousness helped bridge the gap between scientific observation and spiritual awareness, offering a more complete perspective on the forest's transformation. The harsh winter conditions brought fresh opportunities for observing the sophistication of the forest's social organization. When blizzards threatened vulnerable members of the community, animals worked together to ensure everyone's survival, showing remarkable compassion and cooperation. The impact of these discoveries continued to spread beyond Pine Ridge stations. Boundaries. Other wildlife preserves reported early signs of similar behavioral changes, suggesting that this transformation in animal consciousness might represent a broader evolutionary development in wildlife intelligence and social capability. As winter tightened its grip on the mountain range, Pine Ridge Station stood at the forefront of a revolution in our understanding of wildlife behavior and potential. Each day brought new evidence that animals possessed far greater capabilities for cooperation, innovation, and social organization than previously imagined. Watch for the next installment of this extraordinary journey as we explore how these remarkable developments continued to evolve and reshape our understanding of wildlife consciousness in ways that would forever change our perspective on the natural world. Midwinter moonlight cast ethereal shadows across the snow-laden landscape of Evergreen mountain range as Chief Ranger Mark Thompson witnessed an extraordinary nocturnal phenomenon. The adolescent bear, now nearly full-grown, led a remarkable midnight gathering where animals from various species engaged in what appeared to be strategic planning sessions. Using shadows cast by the moon, they created detailed maps in the snow, marking resource locations and safe travel routes with astonishing precision. Dr. Emma Carter's specialized equipment detected something unprecedented in the cold mountain air. The forest's inhabitants had developed a sophisticated system of using ice crystals to amplify their communication signals. By creating specific formations of frost patterns, they could transmit messages across vast distances, utilizing the natural acoustics of the frozen landscape in ways that defied conventional understanding of wildlife capabilities. Senior Ranger James Martinez discovered an innovative adaptation during his dawn patrol. Animals had learned to create temporary snow shelters using techniques that showed remarkable understanding of architectural principles. These structures, built through interspecies cooperation, featured multiple chambers, air vents, and even primitive forms of insulation, using packed snow and natural materials. Sarah Chen's monitoring systems revealed complex patterns in the forest's nocturnal activities. Different species had established coordinated night watch rotations, with each group taking responsibility for specific areas and times. Their organization demonstrated sophisticated understanding of security and community protection principles. Rob Wilson's advanced imaging equipment captured evidence of animals using the properties of ice and snow to preserve food supplies. They had developed methods of creating natural refrigeration systems within deep snowbanks, showing remarkable understanding of temperature control and food preservation techniques. The mother bear's teaching sessions now incorporated advanced survival strategies specifically adapted for extreme winter conditions. She organized practical demonstrations where different species shared their unique cold weather adaptations, creating a comprehensive knowledge base that benefited the entire forest community. Specialized teams of animals emerged to handle specific winter challenges. Some groups focused on maintaining safe travel routes through deep snow, others on managing food caches, while others specialized in rescue operations during severe weather. Their coordinated efforts showed remarkable organizational capabilities. Dr. Carter's research uncovered evidence of sophisticated memory sharing among different species. Animals would gather to exchange information about successful survival strategies, creating a collective knowledge base that transcended individual species limitations. This cooperative learning system demonstrated remarkable cognitive advancement. The indigenous elders recognized patterns in animal behavior that aligned with ancient winter ceremonies. Their traditional knowledge suggested that animals possessed innate understanding of seasonal rhythms and cycles, which manifested in sophisticated cooperative behaviors during the harshest months. As winter reached its peak, the forest's inhabitants demonstrated remarkable innovations in resource management. They established networks of sheltered rest stops along major travel routes, ensuring safe passage for all species during severe weather conditions. These waypoints showed sophisticated understanding of travel logistics and community needs. The transformation extended to hunting practices throughout the territory. Predator species had developed highly efficient methods that minimized energy expenditure in deep snow, while ensuring fair distribution of resources among all carnivores. Their cooperative approach demonstrated remarkable adaptation to winter conditions. Research teams documented the emergence of what appeared to be mathematical understanding in snow-clearing operations. Animals coordinated their efforts using precise patterns and formations that maximized efficiency while minimizing energy expenditure. Their methods showed remarkable comprehension of geometric principles. The cubs' influence sparked innovations in weather shelter construction. Animals worked together to create emergency refuges throughout the territory, using natural materials and sophisticated design principles that demonstrated remarkable engineering capabilities. Scientists worldwide gathered at Pine Ridge Station to study these unprecedented winter adaptations. Their research confirmed that the forest's inhabitants had developed cognitive and social capabilities far beyond traditional scientific understanding of wildlife behavior. The impact on conservation theory grew as evidence mounted of sophisticated decision-making processes among the animal population. Traditional assumptions about wildlife intelligence and social organization were challenged by daily observations of complex cooperative behaviors. As winter storms intensified, the team witnessed the establishment of innovative food-sharing systems. Animals had created networks of emergency supply caches throughout the territory, ensuring that every member of the community had access to necessary resources regardless of their physical capabilities. The forest's social structure showed remarkable resilience in adapting to extreme weather challenges. When traditional food sources became inaccessible under deep snow, animals worked together to develop alternative foraging strategies. Their cooperative approach to problem-solving demonstrated exceptional adaptability. The mother bear's teaching methods evolved to include advanced planning and strategy sessions for severe weather events. She would gather animals from different species to discuss upcoming challenges and develop coordinated responses, showing remarkable foresight and organizational ability. Partnership between wildlife and researchers reached new levels of sophistication, as animals actively participated in winter survival studies. They would demonstrate new behaviors and innovations for documentation, contributing directly to humanity's understanding of wildlife intelligence. The transformation affected territorial behavior in unprecedented ways. Traditional boundaries between species became fluid, with animals sharing warm spaces and limited resources based on community needs rather than individual dominance. This cooperative approach to territory management showed remarkable social evolution. Dr. Carter's team documented the emergence of what appeared to be ceremonial practices around winter solstice. Animals gathered in specific locations to perform coordinated movements and vocalizations that suggested cultural rather than purely instinctual behavior. The indigenous elders' wisdom provided crucial context for interpreting these new developments. Their traditional understanding of animal consciousness helped bridge the gap between scientific observation and spiritual awareness, offering a more complete perspective on the forest's transformation. The harsh winter conditions brought fresh opportunities for observing the sophistication of the forest's social organization. When blizzards threatened vulnerable members of the community, animals worked together to ensure everyone's survival, showing remarkable compassion and cooperation. The impact of these discoveries continued to spread beyond Pine Ridge station's boundaries. Other wildlife preserves reported early signs of similar behavioral changes, suggesting that this transformation in animal consciousness might represent a broader evolutionary development. As winter reached its zenith, Pine Ridge Station stood at the forefront of a revolution in our understanding of wildlife behavior and potential. Each day brought new evidence that animals possessed far greater capabilities for cooperation, innovation, and social organization than previously imagined. Watch for the next installment of this extraordinary journey as we explore how these remarkable developments continue to evolve and reshape our understanding of wildlife consciousness in ways that would forever change our perspective on the natural world. Late winter winds howled through Evergreen mountain range as Chief Ranger Mark Thompson studied an extraordinary series of ice formations discovered throughout the forest. What initially appeared to be natural crystal structures revealed themselves as deliberately crafted markers created by animals working in coordination. These ice sculptures served as sophisticated navigation aids, reflecting moonlight in specific patterns to guide nocturnal movement through the wilderness. Dr. Emma Carter's specialized equipment detected remarkable patterns in underground vibrations. The forest's inhabitants had developed a sophisticated network of communication using seismic signals transmitted through frozen ground. Different species contributed unique rhythmic patterns, creating a complex language that carried messages across vast distances beneath the snow-covered landscape. Senior Ranger James Martinez documented an unprecedented phenomenon during his evening patrol. Deep within a system of ice caves, animals had established what appeared to be educational centers where young creatures from various species gathered to learn advanced survival techniques. The teaching methods displayed remarkable sophistication, with older animals demonstrating complex skills using carefully arranged natural materials as training aids. Sarah Chen's monitoring systems revealed intricate patterns in the forest's nighttime activities. Animals had developed coordinated sleeping schedules, with different species taking turns maintaining security while others rested. This sophisticated rotation system ensured continuous protection for the entire community while allowing all creatures adequate rest. Rob Wilson's thermal imaging captured evidence of animals using thermal currents in remarkable ways. They had learned to create and maintain warm air channels through the snow, establishing safe travel routes that benefited creatures of all sizes. These engineering achievements demonstrated unprecedented understanding of thermodynamics and collective problem-solving. The mother bear's leadership had evolved to include strategic planning for upcoming seasonal changes. She organized regular gatherings where different species shared observations about environmental signals, creating a sophisticated early warning system for weather changes and potential challenges. Her methods showed remarkable foresight and organizational ability. The forest's inhabitants displayed extraordinary innovation in dealing with late winter challenges. Animals worked together to create elevated platforms above deep snow, using fallen logs and packed ice to establish safe, resting areas that remained accessible regardless of snow depth. Their engineering project showed remarkable understanding of structural principles. Dr. Carter's research team discovered evidence of sophisticated memory transmission between generations of different species. Older animals would systematically teach young ones about historical weather patterns, safe shelter locations, and reliable food sources, creating a living archive of crucial survival information. The indigenous elders who advised the station recognized patterns that aligned with their ancient teachings about animal intelligence. Their traditional stories spoke of times when creatures possessed deep understanding of natural cycles and worked together to maintain harmony in the wilderness. Current observations seem to validate these ancestral beliefs. As winter began showing signs of retreat, the team witnessed the establishment of sophisticated preparation systems for the coming change of seasons. Animals worked together to reinforce essential structures, clear future gathering spaces, and establish new travel routes that would remain viable during the spring thaw. The transformation extended to hunting practices throughout the territory. Predator species had developed highly efficient methods that minimized energy expenditure while ensuring fair distribution of resources. Their cooperative approach demonstrated remarkable adaptation to challenging conditions. Research teams documented the emergence of what appeared to be ceremonial practices around the changing of seasons. Animals gathered in specific locations to perform coordinated movements that seemed to serve both practical and social purposes, suggesting the development of shared cultural traditions. The cubs' influence had sparked innovations in resource management and conservation. Animals worked together to protect essential food sources, maintain clean water access points, and ensure sustainable use of available resources. Their methods showed remarkable understanding of environmental stewardship. Scientists worldwide gathered at Pine Ridge Station to study these unprecedented developments. Their research confirmed that the forest's inhabitants had developed cognitive and social capabilities far beyond traditional scientific understanding of wildlife behavior and intelligence. The impact on conservation theory grew as evidence mounted of sophisticated decision-making processes among the animal population. Traditional assumptions about wildlife intelligence and social organization were challenged by daily observations of complex cooperative behaviors. As the season began to shift, the team witnessed the establishment of innovative architectural projects throughout the forest. Animals worked together to create structures that could serve multiple species through various weather conditions, showing remarkable understanding of adaptive design principles. The forest's social structure showed extraordinary resilience in facing late winter challenges. When traditional food sources became scarce, animals worked together to develop alternative foraging strategies and create new storage solutions. Their cooperative approach to problem-solving demonstrated exceptional adaptability. The mother bear's teaching methods evolved to include advanced planning for environmental changes. She organized training sessions where different species could share their unique knowledge about seasonal transitions, fostering innovation through combination of diverse experiences and skills. Partnership between wildlife and researchers reached new levels of sophistication as animals actively participated in scientific studies. They would demonstrate new behaviors and innovations for documentation, contributing directly to humanity's understanding of wildlife intelligence. The transformation affected territorial behavior in unprecedented ways. Traditional boundaries between species became fluid, with animals sharing spaces and resources based on community needs rather than individual dominance. This cooperative approach to territory management showed remarkable social evolution. Dr. Carter's team documented the emergence of what appeared to be artistic expression among various species. Animals created intricate patterns in snow and ice, arranged objects in aesthetically pleasing ways, and engaged in coordinated movements that suggested cultural rather than purely instinctual behavior. The indigenous elders' traditional knowledge provided crucial insights into interpreting these new developments. Their understanding of animal consciousness helped bridge the gap between scientific observation and spiritual awareness, offering a more complete perspective on the forest's transformation. The changing seasons brought fresh opportunities for observing the sophistication of the forest's social organization. When late winter storms threatened vulnerable members of the community, animals worked together to ensure everyone's survival, showing remarkable compassion and cooperation. The impact of these discoveries continued to spread beyond Pine Ridge Station's boundaries. Other wildlife preserves reported early signs of similar behavioral changes, suggesting that this transformation in animal consciousness might represent a broader evolutionary development. As winter began its slow retreat from the mountain range, Pine Ridge Station stood at the forefront of a revolution in our understanding of wildlife behavior and potential. Each day brought new evidence that animals possessed far greater capabilities for cooperation, innovation, and social organization than previously imagined. Watch for the next installment of this extraordinary journey as we explore how these remarkable developments continue to evolve and reshape our understanding of wildlife consciousness in ways that would forever change our perspective on the natural world. Early spring sunshine pierced through melting icicles at Pine Ridge Station as Chief Ranger Mark Thompson prepared to document the most extraordinary transformation yet. The once small bear cub, now fully grown, had achieved something unprecedented in wildlife history. Through its remarkable journey from a crying cub seeking help to a wise leader, it had fundamentally changed the relationship between humans and wildlife forever. Dr. Emma Carter's final research report revealed the full scope of the revolution that had taken place in Evergreen mountain range. What began as a simple cry for help had evolved into a sophisticated society where different species worked together in harmony, sharing knowledge, resources, and responsibilities in ways that challenged every conventional understanding of wildlife behavior. Senior Ranger James Martinez witnessed the culmination of this extraordinary story during his morning patrol. The grown bear, now a majestic adult, gathered an unprecedented assembly of forest inhabitants. Every species represented in the territory came together in a natural amphitheater formed by ancient trees. The scene before him would redefine wildlife conservation forever. Sarah Chen's monitoring systems captured something remarkable, a synchronized pattern of communication that spread through the entire forest. Animals from every species contributed their unique voices to create a harmonious chorus that carried specific messages across vast distances. This sophisticated communication network demonstrated the pinnacle of interspecies cooperation. Rob Wilson's aerial surveillance revealed the true extent of the forest's transformation. From above, the territory had become a masterpiece of natural engineering, with carefully maintained pathways connecting various species territories, shared resource centers, and communal gathering spaces. The landscape itself told the story of revolutionary change. The mother bear, who had supported her cub's remarkable journey from the beginning, now stood as a symbol of wisdom and cooperation. Her presence commanded respect from all forest inhabitants, not through fear or dominance, but through the deep, Trust she had helped establish between different species. As spring flowers began pushing through melting snow, the forest demonstrated its most sophisticated achievement yet. Animals had created a sustainable society where every creature contributed its unique abilities to benefit the whole community. Predators and prey maintained peaceful coexistence through carefully established protocols that ensured survival for all. Dr. Carter's observations documented the emergence of what appeared to be a formal education system within the forest. Young animals from all species gathered regularly to learn from experienced members of different species, creating a rich exchange of knowledge that transcended traditional boundaries. The indigenous elders who had watched this transformation unfold recognized the fulfillment of ancient prophecies. Their traditional stories had spoken of a time when animals would reclaim their original wisdom and help restore balance to the natural world. What they witnessed now validated centuries of traditional knowledge. The transformation extended to the very way animals interacted with humans. The fear and distrust that had traditionally characterized wildlife-human relations had been replaced by cautious cooperation. Animals would now approach ranger stations when in need of assistance, showing remarkable trust while maintaining appropriate boundaries. Research teams documented the establishment of sophisticated healthcare practices throughout the forest. Animals had developed complex systems for identifying and treating injuries and illnesses, using natural remedies and cooperative care techniques that showed remarkable medical understanding. The impact on conservation science was revolutionary. Traditional wildlife management practices were completely reorganized to support and learn from these emerging cooperative behaviors. The forest had become a living laboratory of animal intelligence and social development. What began with a small bear cub's cry for help had evolved into a complete reimagining of wildlife capacity for intelligence and cooperation. The forest's inhabitants had created a society that demonstrated sophisticated problem-solving abilities, emotional intelligence, and social organization. Scientists worldwide gathered at Pine Ridge Station to study this unprecedented transformation. Their research confirmed that the forest's inhabitants had developed cognitive and social capabilities far beyond traditional scientific understanding of wildlife behavior and intelligence. The grown bear's influence had sparked a revolution in environmental stewardship. Animals actively participated in maintaining forest health, managing resources sustainably, and protecting vulnerable species. Their methods showed remarkable understanding of ecological balance. As spring fully awakened the forest, the team witnessed the establishment of sophisticated cultural practices throughout the territory. Animals engaged in regular gatherings that combined practical activities with social bonding, creating rich traditions that strengthened community ties. The forest's social structure showed extraordinary resilience in facing environmental challenges. When natural disasters threatened, animals worked together to protect and restore their habitat, showing remarkable understanding of environmental management and cooperation. The mother bear's legacy extended far beyond her immediate territory. Other regions began reporting similar developments in wildlife behavior, suggesting that the transformation she and her cub had initiated was spreading naturally through animal populations. Partnership between wildlife and humans reached new levels of sophistication. Animals would actively cooperate with conservation efforts, sometimes even guiding rangers to areas requiring attention or assistance. This revolutionary cooperation transformed wildlife management practices. The transformation affected entire ecosystems in unprecedented ways. Species that had traditionally competed now work together to maintain environmental balance, showing remarkable understanding of their interconnected roles in nature. Dr. Carter's team documented the emergence of what appeared to be cultural practices that united different species. Animals created and maintained shared spaces for community gatherings, suggesting the development of sophisticated social structures. The indigenous elders' wisdom provided crucial context for understanding these developments. Their traditional knowledge helped bridge the gap between scientific observation and spiritual awareness, offering a more complete perspective on the forest's transformation. The changing seasons brought fresh evidence of the forest's remarkable evolution. Animals worked together to prepare for future challenges, showing sophisticated planning abilities and cooperative problem-solving skills. The impact of these discoveries continued to ripple through the scientific community. Traditional understandings of wildlife intelligence and social capability required complete revision in light of these extraordinary developments. As spring firmly established its hold on the mountain range, Pine Ridge Station stood as a testament to the remarkable potential for cooperation between all living beings. The story of a crying bear cub seeking human help had blossomed into a revolution in our understanding of wildlife consciousness and capability. From this day forward, the forest would serve as a living example of what becomes possible when humans and animals learn to trust and support each other. The barriers between species had been permanently transformed, creating new possibilities for harmony between all living beings. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.